Now, how much time was that in between you kind of connecting with Boondocks, and what was that process like?
So another crazy story, bro. So that I'd never been to LA before, right? This is my first time, going to LA. And my boy Brian Ash, who I've worked with over the years, at the time, I met him through the Rockefeller project, right? He was actually the one that actually gave me the gig, you know what I'm saying, or introduced me to Rockefeller, because he was working on like state property, and he produced that movie Paper Soldiers, Kevin Hart's first movie. So he had left New York and moved to LA, and he was the one that convinced me like this is kind of where you need to be. Also, Affion Crockett, who I grew up with, and we went to high school together. So Affion was out here doing his thing. That's the other thing that was a big inspiration for me, because I was talking to him, and he was like, bro, you got to get out here. You just got to, you got to come out, and he took a risk, and he did it, and he landed on his feet. And he also was telling me that, he knew people in animation, like, because he was, doing voice recordings and stuff like that for different studios and people. And so he was like, he was telling me like, you'll be in good hands. Like, it's one way or another, we'll figure it out. So being that, he was out there, and then, Brian offered me like a place to crash, me and my ex-wife at the time, so we just packed up everything and basically went out. Now, the first day that I was in LA, Brian let me use his car to basically drive around and, for us to kind of get familiar with the town. And so I think, I don't know, maybe like we were driving for maybe like 10 minutes, maybe less than that. And I saw Melrose Street, right? And I knew Melrose Street. I knew the word Melrose from Melrose Place, the TV show. And I just was like, oh, that's Melrose from the TV show. Let's turn down there. So we turned down Melrose, and maybe like 2 blocks down Melrose, and I see this short black guy walking with the red T-shirt on and a silhouette of Huey on it, right? And I was like, yo, that's Aaron Magruder that does the comic strip, because there was no TV show at the time. It was a comic strip, and I was like, yo, pull up, because my wife was driving, my ex-wife was driving, so she pulls over. I hop out the car, and I just started harassing them. I was just like, yo. Like I just came out here, so I was doing this project with Rockefeller, Beanie Siegel tried to kill somebody. I'm just giving him the whole spiel, and he just sat there and he listened to me, and I was like, but yo, I draw, I write, and I'm trying to get my foot in the door, yada, yada, yada. And so we exchanged information, and then he hit me up, and we did lunch, and bro, that lunch, it went so well, we just were, it was like kind of kindred spirits, man. Like we just kind of instantly just clicked. And so so he hired me to work on the comic strip with him, because he needed some help doing the strip. So that's where I first started. Like I just started drawing the comic strip, and then when the show got picked up, I made the transition into the show, but that's kind of how it happened. And then from there, man, like, I don't know, like I've always just been kind of a hustler, you know what I'm saying? And I even when I was selling movies and stuff, like I just got that kind of grind, and I don't even know where I get it from, but so I just hit the ground running from, I saw that opportunity, and I knew how rare these opportunities are, so I really wanted to take full advantage of it and make sure that, I can get the most out of being here. So that's when I just started like pitching stuff and, creating other things and networking and just, doing my thing.
Wow, that's amazing, because I don't know, life is, we all kind of question things sometimes, but it's like how many steps and how many, turns, and you seeing the Melrose sign, and then you running into, that person, and then y'all coming together and creating something, so iconic. It's just like, man, is the stars in the line, or you know what I'm saying?
Well, you know what else is what's weird about this story is that it's funny, because I just remember it's a weird chain of events. So I remember before I came out to LA, because I was still selling movies and shit like that, and I had my van in this it was right in front of this barbershop. It was a barbershop in Greensboro, North Carolina, called Motivations. I remember I had my the back of my van open. I was selling stuff out of my van, and then the police rolled up. You know what I'm saying? And And usually I have an eye out and I usually see them, but I think I had somebody at the van and they was buying stuff. So they like rolled up on me. And so I remember it was a black cop and they started searching the van. And he saw I had a pitch book. Now, mind you, this is after the Rockefeller stuff. So I had a pitch book of the Playpen. It was the cartoon series I was working on for Rockefeller. It was the Rockefeller campus babies in a daycare center that was like a correctional facility. So it was like Rugrats meets like Oz or some shit like that. So anyways, so he sees the pitch book, right? They confiscating all the movies and stuff, but he sees the pitch book and he's flipping through it. And he's like, "What is this?" And I was like, "Oh, it was this thing I was working on or whatever." And he's like, "Man, this is what you need to be doing." He's like, "Why are you fucking around with this stuff?" He's like, this is, he said, "You drew this?" And I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Man," he said, "that's what you need to be doing." And I remember, so they took everything. So it was like a short day for me. And I remember I was just like, I just went by the comic book shop. And I remember I picked up this book. It was back in it, they had this magazine called Comics Journal, right? And I remember they were featuring comic strip artists. And there was one, and I saw the Boondocks on, like Huey was on the cover, and they had a whole interview with Aaron Magruder in it. So when I did go to LA, right, I was reading the interview with him on my way to LA. This is I cannot make this up, bro. And then I happened to run into him. That's why I be thinking, man, like the thoughts are powerful, bro. Thoughts are powerful. You talk about like manifesting things, and if you're truly focused on something and you put the passion behind it, you can will things into fruition. Maybe not the full realization of that dream, but you'll start putting the universe will start putting those pieces in place,